The Electoral College vote has determined who is our president for hundreds of years. So why all the fuss now? Well, we're here to sort it all out for us, none other than Shari. Thanks for joining us to talk about this. I think if we walk down the street and ask people, what is the Electoral College, they would say just that. Oh, it elects our president, but they wouldn't know how it works.
Right.
So let's start with that.
So the history is really interesting, Roxanne. This is a creation of our founding fathers in the Constitution. What we need to remember is our founding fathers were well-educated, worldly, wealthy kind of guys who were in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention representing their states. So they wanted to give the general population the vote, but they were concerned that the general population might be not as worldly, not as educated, might be taken advantage of by a slick talking politician, and they wanted to retain some power in this process for their states. So eventually the Electoral College came about as a compromise, basically creating a layer in between us as voters and who's going to be president. And in the Constitution, it gives each state the right to select electors based on the number of members it has in the Senate and the House. And all the other rules are basically left to the state. So how those electors will be elected, what the responsibility will be, and so forth.
So most of us know we get to go cast our ballots, but then the Electoral College casts its votes.
Right.
Now, there's the disconnect for most people.
So here's what happens. Each candidate selects their own slate of electors based on, again, the number that that state is allowed to have. So Trump selected his, Clinton selected hers. Then we vote as a general population. But what we're really voting for is not actually who's going to be president. It's which candidate's slate of electors is going to get to vote. So in Florida, for example, 29 electors. Trump wins Florida. Clinton's slate of electors gets thrown in the garbage, and Trump's electors are the ones who are going to get to vote when the electors vote.
So let's go back to what we talked about in the very beginning. It never really seemed to make much difference until now. So what's all the fuss about now?
Well, the thing is that this election has been about all kinds of things we've never seen before. Boundaries being breached, the predictions about who was going to win didn't come true, and now we've got all these allegations of Russian hacking impacting the elections, investigations. So what's happening is some of these electors have now actually asked to see those reports indicating that they might be considering changing their vote, even though they have pledged to vote for their candidate. That's a concept called a faithless elector. And a lot of states, actually 29 states, have penalties for people who do that. But the question is, are all the electors going to vote as they pledged, or are some of them going to change their votes, which could potentially change the outcome of the election? But 27 of them would have to do that, and it's highly unlikely that that would happen.
That was my next question. It's not real likely that's going to happen. And even some of the recounts that have occurred to go to something different have shown Donald Trump getting more votes than originally.
The popular vote, yeah. But again, it's about the number. That's why we count the popular votes by state, not as a country, because what we're really counting is which electors, which candidates' electors in each state are going to get to vote, and then it's the number of those votes that wins the election.
Is it time to change?
We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of talk about that now, that especially the way you've explained this so well. Thanks, Shari.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Let's send things over to Felicia now.